Hey, everybody, this is Lorraine.
And Jennifer?
And today we want to talk about leads because let's face it, everybody wants leads.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
what happens if you get the wrong leads?
Somebody's going to get in trouble.
You know, all too often, and I know we've all been there, you find yourself sitting in front of a customer and you think, okay, this is going to be a great conversation. And then you start to have the conversation and you think, why are you here? Why are we having this conversation? You're not a good fit for me. You're a bad lead. You're not a bad person, but you're a bad lead.
Yeah,
And when that happens, it's not your closing skills that aren't working.
no.
It- what do you think it is?
I think it's marketing's fault.
Absolutely. Um, so, as you're trying to generate leads for a company, what kind of things should the marketing team keep front and center, really be thinking about to make sure that they're delivering the right leads to a company?
So they need to have like a really good relationship with sales and also the team above them. So, number one, that they clearly understand who they are trying to target, who is the ideal client for them. And I'll go on from there, but that's the number one. We start with anything is you got to have the audience, and that's going to be things like what size of company, what industry are they typically in, what stage of business are they in. Some of the things that a marketer might not think about but does need to think about.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the problems, and I mean, I'm going to put a lot of the blame on the marketers, and I'm a marketer, but I'm also going to put a lot of the blame on the business owner because the business owner is like, well, I want to target small to mid-sized businesses. Well, which one is it? Who are we really talking to? And in an effort to placate that business owner to help them feel like the marketing is doing what it's supposed to, they keep the messages so broad
Yeah.
that none of the leads really connect.
Yeah, because they're just like, well, I want to have lots and lots of opportunities, and but that's wasting the salesperson's time and it's wasting the marketing. And if you really think about that, the marketing is like in the middle, kind of sandwiched between the sales that certainly understands revenue driving because their job depends on it, and then the CEO is the same thing because everybody's job depends on it and they're responsible for it, and that marketer is in the middle, but they've got to kind of play the sides.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to translate the revenue objectives into marketing messages and content that speaks to the right audience and prepares that prospective customer for a conversation with your sales team.
So I think when the marketer can have the relationship with the sales team and they can learn and understand the objections that they are hearing, then A, they'll know if they're targeting the right client or not. Or B, they're going to hear those objections and they need to create the content so that the salesperson has something to follow up in order to close the deal.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did, I got introduced to this process very early in my corporate life, and I continued to do it even when I was owning my own company, is I would do ride-alongs with salespeople.
Oh, yeah.
I would go on the sales call and I would listen to the questions the customers asked. I would watch where the customers glazed over, where the salesman was trying to give them too much information,
Hmm.
where the salesman was going off on tangents of things that the customers didn't want to know about. And that helped me so much figure out what needed to be in the brochure, what needed, this is back, in print days, but even I did a sales call with a salesman and it was so funny because the customer was ready to sign and he just kept talking. And the customer physically was reaching for the contract and the salesman kept pushing it, pulling it back because he had more to say.
Yeah.
And when we got out of there, I'm like, you almost blew that sale.
Yeah, yeah. That is a a big mistake I see is you got to learn to ask a lot of questions and shut up.
Mhm.
I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you what you need to hear in order to sell them. This isn't a showboat situation.
No, no. But but also, another place I think where, um, marketing can really help is, on the one hand, you wanna listen to the sales team, but also if there's a customer service team, if they can hear some of those questions and find out where's the confusion after the sale,
Agreed.
again, they can provide tools that will better prepare
Yeah.
the customer for the entire process.
I think there are, for me, there's several steps here to like make it better. Is defining a shared goal. Marketing is responsible for revenue, and so is sales. So
Mhm,
I think that to me is number one. Number two is agreeing on lead qualification, like what, is hot, warm, cold, looking through the buyer personas, making sure the messaging, like just getting out the bad lead conversation.
mhm.
Number three is there needs to be weekly or monthly like communication between marketing and sales. They both have access to a CRM. There's a feedback loop that is constantly going on. And then number four, like there needs to be this like service level agreement where marketing is committing to X number of qualified leads, sales commits to follow up within X amount of hours on
Mhm.
these leads, and leadership supports both teams with tools and trainings.
That they need to do that. Absolutely. And that whole scoring leads and qualifying leads and creating a funnel, depending on what the business is like, it can be very simple or very complex, but creating a funnel that pulls out the best leads, that
Mhm.
pulls out the people that you go running down the hall to sales and say, call them now, versus, hey, these guys look a little lukewarm, reach out, just touch base with them. And I think being able to identify the characteristics that separate the okay leads from the amazing leads
Yeah,
is critical.
yeah, yeah. My next ones are aligning compensation, especially definitely an internal team. You're not going to come across that in an external situation,
Mhm,
but internally, maybe there's shared bonuses, for closing revenue.
mhm,
Huge one for marketing is ensuring sales uses the marketing content and marketing is creating that valuable content so that the sales team can leverage that, and there's just this content repository that is
mhm.
constantly there for them, and talking about feedback from sales, like what content is missing.
Absolutely. And that feedback loop, too often I see in organizations this wall between sales and marketing, and this idea that marketing generates the leads and then throws them over the wall, and then it's up to sales to close them. And it's really an ongoing relationship, and particularly I think in B2B,
Oh yeah.
after that initial proposal, there's a lot of room for more marketing. There's a lot of room for follow-up campaigns,
Email
for
nurturing from there, absolutely.
and so the trick is, we've got this live person. How do we make sure we get them into the funnel? And I'm going to add one more exercise, and I think we've talked about this before, and that is sales, and actually going beyond sales and going to your production team and asking your production team, who are the best customers? Who
Yeah,
do they love working with?
yeah,
And then using that information to enhance the persona, to modify the persona. That process, when I was running the agency, we figured out we really liked service companies, home services and professional services. We
okay,
really didn't like product companies.
okay.
And so once we identified that, we adjusted our marketing to reach more of those customers.
Yeah.
We enjoyed working with them. We closed more sales, and the loop kept getting better.
So you mentioned three key audiences there on who to reach out to. You know, the sales team, the production team, and the customer service team. So you got it all there on making sure that you cover your bases.
Absolutely. Marketing does not work in a vacuum. This is not magic, and it's not some episode of Mad Men where the guy sits in a chair by himself and an idea pops into his head. That's not really how marketing works.
There's so much about Mad Men that is not true.
No, but I do love it. But if you're trying to figure some of this out and you'd like some help getting pointed in the right direction, Jen and I would love to have conversations with you. I really love working with solopreneurs and service professionals.
Yeah.
And that's my sweet spot, and helping you craft strategies. And Jen?
I like to work with well-established businesses. Typically, you know, they're million plus in revenue, and they're in the healthcare service industry, business, travel industry, event marketing. Those are typically who we work with, and we don't work with startups. So that's luring.
Absolutely. If you've got a crazy idea, let's chat. And regardless of which part of the spectrum you're on, come on back next week because we'll have another one of these great conversations.
All right, take care.